On Instagram, Mattel wrote
Check, 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 check.
1040 joined. Storm at 94.
Check, check, check. Gotcha.
Law firm of Catania and Catania.
Okay, get ready. Here we go.
Save families for 30 years.
Ask your doctor.
Okay, very good. All right. We had some technical stuff there. Hopefully we're still good. It looks like we're still broadcasting, so I apologize to the live stream viewers. We're about ready to start.
And does not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Genesis Communications, its management, staff, or advertisers. Welcome to the John Villarreal Show. Now, here's John.
Hey, what's up, Tampa Bay? Greater Tampa Bay area, what's going on? It's me, John D. Villarreal. I've got a special guest today, too. My daughter, Janaire, is in the studio. We might, no promises, but we just might hear from my wife. And why are we making it a family show? Because we're going to talk about family today. We're going to talk about relationships. We're going to talk about marriage, everything, all that type of stuff. But that's really a little bit later. Right now, we're going to talk about art because Janaire has some unbelievable art. She's so talented. But we have so much news talk and news to get to immediately. And we're going to be joined by Paul at Villarreal. There's so much that has happened in just 1 week. I mean, Newstalk 1040, I'm talking everywhere from Sarasota, Wesley Chapel, St. Pete, Tampa, Lakeland, all over the place, and live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. We appreciate everybody out there. There's a lot that's happened. The whole political stuff. I mean, we're talking about President Trump, Governor DeSantis, Vivek Ramaswamy. Oh my goodness, he just crushed David Pakman, in my opinion. And I don't want to necessarily put it that way, you know, the whole left-right thing, whatever like that. But he kind of did, and we're gonna get into that. That was huge. That was unbelievable. No doubt about it. Now, we're going to get into, also, we're going to talk about the Barbie movie. Barbie's gone over $1 billion. $1 billion in box office. Everyone's going to see this Barbie movie. And no less than Prime Minister Justin Trudeau took his son to the Barbie movie. And we talked a little bit last week about relationships, about marriage, modern, you know, where it is now, where everything, and we're going to talk about Barbie. I'm going to put some stuff out there that I think is going to go beyond the normal conversation that we've had so far in terms of some of the left-right stuff. And we're going to talk about modern relationships. We're going to talk about feminism. Some people say third-wave feminism. We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff. But I do believe it goes beyond that. And as I said before, we're all for peace, love, freedom, liberty, opportunity, equality for everybody, globally, universally, all that type of stuff. So I don't want any confusion. I'm not going to get if you listen to me and you listen to my shows, you understand where I'm at. You understand what I'm all about. And honestly, quite frankly, it takes time. It takes time to understand me. I straight up literally am a super genius, and I mean, I have very complex thoughts. And I don't want to put it like that, but it is kind of a little bit like that. I mean, there's pros and cons to that. I don't want to get too far into that. But we will roll this out. And what that is to say that you have to listen to, it's like what Rush used to say a long time ago, and rest in peace, Rush. God bless Rush. Unbelievable radio talent, the best ever, in my opinion, up there with some of the others great. But the point of it is this. You have to listen to my shows and even multiple shows to really fully understand and grasp what I'm saying. Not unlike Vivek. Vivek destroyed, in my opinion, logically and intellectually, David Pakman, because I think David Pakman was doing a very lazy kind of gotcha type of question, in my opinion. And when I'm going to talk about the Barbie movie, and I'm going to talk about relationships, and I'm going to talk about modern dating and all that type of stuff, because I have a very, very interesting story. We'll see if my wife joins me or not. We'll see. Don't hold your breath, because probably not. But I can still speak to it, and my daughter can speak to it a little bit. But, I really was able to, find the oasis, if you will. And I don't want to necessarily even say it like that, but I was able to be very successful, and it's tough. It's not an easy deal right there. So we'll talk about that probably in the second hour. We may front load that, and my family got divorced and all that type of stuff. And I don't want to make this into a personal show, but I think it is illustrative of serious things out there. And I was aware, but I've been so out of the dating scene for a while now, like the modern, both, anyone in the dating scene right now has a very hard time. It's brutal. It's rough. And I'll just throw you something right now, and then we'll go to the news talk, and then we'll come back. And my daughter's got some art she wants to show, so I'll probably do that a little bit early here. So just bear with me there in the audience of the Newstalk 1040 AM. We're going to talk about that, but we'll bring her back in here to talk about some of the family stuff and everything like that. It will all make sense, I promise you. Just stay with me. It's going to be an amazing show. I can feel it. And I'm going to throw something out there, because I'm hearing things out there on relationships like, some people say, "Oh, I don't need to be married. I don't need a wife, or I don't need a man, or I make my own money, or I'm a boss, a person, or whatever." All this stuff. And I just think it's or when are the men going to step up, or fill in the blank. And I just think it's super bizarre. Right? Or our standards of raised, or anything. And again, I don't want to get into this manosphere stuff. I mean, I understand why it's out there. And I was thinking about this in many different respects. And I'm going to add some different aspects to this that I don't think are being talked about out there. And it's this. We're talking about a bunch of different things. Number one is I'm going to throw you. Do you realize I'm going to throw you some? So you may think, here's where I disagree with some of these things. And I'm probably not fully exploring the argument, but just stay with me for a second. Because at the end of the day, if it's not about, family, if it's not about children, if it's not about relationships, why are we on earth? I mean, not even get religious. We can get religious too, right? I mean, what is your life about? What do you think success is? Is success just having a big house and going and buying stuff and putting stuff on social media? Or is success a beautiful family, people that love you, people that care about you, connections? So let me throw this out here, right? So you think, well, I'm just going to be successful, and I'm over, they talk about the 3 6s, 6 feet tall and making 6 figures and 6-pack abs and all that. So let's say you do all those things. Do you think in this modern society right now, Western or something like that, right? I mean, that's all I know. I've grown up in America. That's all I know. Although I've been around, different places. I've been to Israel. I've been to Mexico. I've been to Canada. I've been to Aruba. I'm not saying I've been to Germany. I'm not saying I've been everywhere, but I've been to a few places. Do you think that you're immune from what's going on out there? Well, let me throw this out there, and we'll talk about it in a second. Now, I just want you to think about, because we're talking about the Barbie stuff. We're going to bring in Paul at Villarreal. He's on the line too, and there was so much to talk about. We're going to talk about the news talk, and we're going to go with that. But everybody leads with that. But I really want to take a pause and talk about this for a second to just put it on the plate. Let's talk about some of the famous men that have been divorced. So if you think that if you're educated or if you have big money or if you're famous and there's a little bit of a couple twists on this we're going to talk about that I don't think is just, what's been in the latest discussion here for a while. So here's famous men that have been divorced, okay? And I could go on from here. So just bear with me. In no particular order. Jeff Bezos, Sylvester Stallone, Tom Brady, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Dr. Dre, Kanye West, Sergey Brin, one of the founders of Google, Guy Ritchie, Tom Cruise, Bill Gates, founder of Microsoft, Mel Gibson. And if I think I got this right. If I have it wrong, I apologize and I amend it. And this is my recollection. I'm not alleging anything. Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, Paul McCarthy, Garth Brooks, Matt Lauer, Steven Spielberg, Kelsey Grammer, Brad Pitt, Harrison Ford, James Cameron, Kevin Costner, Prince Charles, Dwayne Wade, Donald Trump, Rupert Murdoch, Wiz Khalifa, Lionel Richie, Hulk Hogan, Michael Jackson, Lance Armstrong, Channing Tatum. I could go on. So, and this is people on the left, people on the right. These are famous athletes. These are famous business people, successful business people. These are actors. These are celebrities. What do you have to do as a person, let alone what do you have to do as a person? What do you have to do as a man to stay married? So this is what I want to impart to the people out there. I don't want to get into the normal stuff, the manosphere stuff. I don't want to get it. I mean, we have to obviously have some level of discussion on that. I'll throw a couple other things out there, and I've heard these stats. I have not personally verified these stats, but something like 80% of divorces, if this is a correct stat, this is what I've heard, I could be wrong, are initiated by women. 90% if the woman is college educated. Now, I'm not getting into the back and forth here and again the mansper stuff, and I don't want to. I just think it's too trite and simplistic. Men versus women or left versus right, something like that. I mean, I just think, especially in relationships, I think they're just silly, and that's not what we're doing here. What I'm saying is, what a lot of the people on the right, and I'll call out the people, not going to call out, but we're going to analyze this, I guess, is, it's third wave feminism and it's feminism and we got to go back to traditional values and stuff like that. And I just think that as I said before, that nothing ever remains the same, that there are important arguments and discussions and progress that's been made, and we have to, and that needs to be made. We need to recognize that, right? And I have a beautiful daughter, and if she wants to be president or an astronaut or whatever she wants to do, then that's fantastic. So I don't think it's a return to the 1900s or a return to the 1950s. At the same time, I do think that if you are doing something, if you're breaking substantially and dramatically from and Paul, just be patient, I apologize, I just have to set this up, from 100 years, 1,000 years, 2,000 years, 5,000 years, 10,000 years, a million years, whatever it is, of the way things have been, there could be some serious disruption there. And maybe some people say, well, that's good, we needed that. Okay, well, there's that. And that's the discussion that's happening, between, the right and the left and manosphere and feminism and all that type of stuff. And okay. But I think that there's a lot more than that. And I think that wherever you are in the political spectrum, wherever you're, and again, I'm going to reiterate, we're for peace, love, freedom, liberty, opportunity, equality for everybody. We love everybody. All right. And if you listen to John D. Villarreal show, we're trying to, for the lack of a better word, in the Newstalk 1040 audience here, we're trying to help people. We're trying to do news you can use, if you will, entertainment you can use, things that might move the needle in your life, that might be beneficial. And you have to say that here's what's incompatible. You can't say that you want a relationship, but you don't need anybody. I mean, you can say that, but it just, at some level, it's sort of antithetical to the whole idea, right? If I'm building a company, if I'm building a team, I'm a super genius, literally. There's a lot of things I'm an expert at. There's a tremendous amount of things that I'm very skilled at. I've got 3, graduate degrees from elite institutions, Berkeley and Johns Hopkins, an MBA, a JD, a Master of Communication, blah, 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 blah. If you've heard me, you know this, right? There's very few things that I can't do in a company. But there's a lot of things that I either don't want to do, I can't do at the same time, or I'm just not as specialized in. If I want to build a great company, I need other people. If I want to build a family, I need somebody else. That's just common sense. Now, I don't know if I'm even allowed to say that anymore. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't want to get too into this type of things. But the point of it is you have to recognize that you need other people. You have to recognize that if you want a relationship, there's someone else there. And if you don't think that they count just as much, or they have a very critical role to your family, to your life, to your happiness, you are delusional, potentially, in my opinion. Does that make sense? So this idea that it's about leverage, and if I have the money, and this, and whatever, that's why I tremendously disagree with the manosphere stuff. And I think it's beyond the manosphere and the feminism, and let's put all that aside. I think what we're seeing in some of this stuff too, and some people say, well, you know, and as I was putting this list together, my wife's like, well, these are famous people, John. I mean, that's craziness, and yeah, but not all of them, right? I mean, yeah, they are compared to you and me, but I mean, like some of these people are not as famous as their money, if that makes sense, right? They haven't sought necessarily the limelight. I mean, a lot of them have but there's so many more people here. And I've seen people that were really successful that their lives got totally ruined by divorce. So is it, you know, the third wave feminism thing? Is it a famous thing? I will put something else on the table that we all know, but I think that just gets lost in this debate. Is it just the superficiality of modern life, at least in the West, of social media, of I can get something, you know, I'm going to swipe left, swipe right, whatever it is. I don't even know how these things work. Honestly, I mean, I do, but I don't, you know what I mean? It's like that level of superficiality in everything. I mean, we see it in politics. We're going to talk about that with the Governor DeSantis campaign and the announced, you know, potential debate with Governor Newsom versus Vivek, and we're going to talk about all types of different things, right? But I want to put this out here to consider for later. I think it's a superficiality that is a big deal. People, and David Goggins talks about this, and Jocko Willenick talks about this. People just, you know, wave the white flag, if you will, or just throw in the towel. Let's use that analogy. Let's move Rise and Red. Let's throw in the towel when it gets hard, and they don't understand or don't have the recognition of what's really involved here, what's really at stake, and what's really important. Why? The bottom line is, at the end of the day, particularly when you have children, the marriage, and people will think it's going to be a Hollywood movie, and I get to get Mr. Big, and I'm flying around the world, and I'm a 10, or I can do whatever I want, or I don't have to have responsibility, or I can go out to the bar with my boys, or whatever it is. No, dude. When you're married and you have a child or you have a family, it's about the children. It's no longer about you. People need to get that. And the point of it is that we're abdicating responsibility and values. Some people would say, you know, religion, and at all levels. And this is what's breaking it down. I want to bring Paul at Villarreal in here for a little bit right here to have his comments. I know he's going to have a lot to say about this, and then we'll set up in the next segment all the political stuff and everything we're going to talk about. And I just want to touch on this quick, Paul, but there's so much to talk about here. In the wake of the Barbie movie that's doing $1 billion, and now we have no less than Justin Trudeau that's dressed up in Barbie. He's saying he's Team Barbie with his son, that's great, spending time with your son and all this type of stuff. But I mean, what do you make of what I said right there, and what do you make of what's going on?
Look, I agree with what you're saying, which is I think there's been in recent decades more of a focus on kind of like the self, which is there's nothing wrong with focusing on yourself or becoming the best person that you can be, but not to the exclusion of having a family or being able to invest your time in someone else. I do want to say one thing, which is you might have to explain to the audience what the manosphere is. Well, you and I know what that is, but everyone might not.
Yeah. So I mean, this is stuff like, and again, I'm not alleging anything, but some people would associate like Andrew Tate with that. There's a whole movement. There's a whole, and this is in the rabbit hole. And again, I tangentially know some of this, and I was looking at some stuff in preparation, and my wife's like, "What are you watching on stuff for?" Like, I just need to know what's going on. And basically, there's a lot of men that are, and there's content creators that are out there. There was Kevin Samuels. There's I don't want to name names because I'm not endorsing anybody or anything like that or whatnot. And we're gonna get to Janair here in 1 second. Here, she's gonna have some stuff to say and some great art show, and we'll do that. We're gonna try to make it work. I know for the rated, we have to make it work for the Newstalk 1040 audience as well. And so, the basic premise is, and there's a range of stuff, of course, and I'm not endorsing anything, but basically, like, look. The divorce laws, the custody laws, a lot of stuff are against men. Men aren't being treated. There's a lot of people say that they want a good relationship, but here I'm a good person, or I'm a good woman, or I'm a good man, or whatever like that, and people are looking past me. And again, it really gets down to the superficiality that basically, I think it's something to the effect, and again, I haven't verified this stat. But something like, again, I'll go back to 80% of divorces initiated by women, 90% if they're college educated. I think that something like 80% of women have children, but only 40% of men. And so the basic premise is if you don't hit that upper 10%, 20%, whatever, I don't know what, I can't, math of men, you're almost invisible and you have no opportunities. If you can't meet a certain level of criteria of whatever success or looks or something like that, as a man, like you're done in terms of relationships. Now, I don't totally subscribe to that or agree with that, and then there's some back and forth, and there's some it seems like there's some bitterness, and I think there's a lot of challenges or holes to the perspective, holes in the arguments, if you will, on both sides. But I do think that there is, what I would say is, the modern dating scene, modern relationship scene is very challenged for a variety of reasons. And I don't think it's any one thing, and I think there's the substantive problem that I have with the manosphere stuff, among many, there's many, right? And I'm not, here's what I think is important about it, right? There's a big issues. There's a lot of issues. If there's issues with families, if there's issues with relationships, that affects everybody. Period. End of story, right? Because if we don't have children and we don't have a society, we don't have a future. I mean, that's just basic, right? But where I have, and we're going to come up against a break, where I have challenges with it is if it's almost like a blaming thing. And I don't like that. And I don't think that, and again, this is extremely simplified, and I'm not doing it justice, and I know that, but I think there's a lot of problems with that, and I think there needs to be an evolution and needs to go beyond that. Similarly, I think all sides need to do an examination of where are we at and what do we really want, and what's equitable, and what's fair, and what's appropriate, and what's important. Does that make sense, Paul?
Yeah, it does. And look, all I meant by describe the manosphere is this is basically a group of online content creators who are kind of making content geared towards men, particularly like single men, and that's what it is, just because not everybody's familiar with that term. What you said is exactly right there at the end, which is we're all about trying to bring people together, get past polarization, get past blame. Let's talk about how we can come together, and that includes men and women. Because, again, there's so much, it's their fault. No, it's their fault in the society today. We want to get beyond that.
Yeah, exactly. I just hate that. That's the thing. And we have these conversations off air. I mean, there's some people that are just making it, you're just doing super phenomenal, successful wise, that are doing things or saying things that are going down roads. I mean, if I wanted to be, get views, get clicks, get an audience, I could do certain things, and I know it would, rate really, really well, but I just refuse to do that because that's just not where I'm at. That's not where my brand is at. I'm about positivity, and I'm about solutions and stuff like that. But here's the thing right here, and we'll wind down. We have maybe a minute left, and we'll just do a little prompt on it. I've got Miss Janair here, and look how cute she is, huh? Say hi to everybody real quick right now.
Hi.
Okay, that's my daughter. She's 6 years old, just turned 6 years old, about getting ready for first grade. And she's got some art over here. She's going to show us why I keep going with the show. And it's just like, dude, if you don't understand everything that I've done in my life, I've been a 4-time national champion. I've done all these different things. I've trained pro athletes. I've run campaigns. It pales in comparison to this. And that's my daughter. And look at this. Look at this art that she does. It's unbelievable. She's got a whole story here. She's so talented. It's just on. That's what you have to understand. There's bigger things out there than just you. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the politics and news, everything else. Stay tuned for the next segment of the John D. Villarreal Show here on Newstalk 1040 AM. Greater Tampa Bay area. Be right back at you. Hey, everybody, listen live right here. We're on a break right now with Newstalk 1040. We're going to be back talking to my wife and my daughter over here, and we've talked to Miss. She's got some cool. Actually, this is kind of a cool thing to do during the break right now. We can talk a little bit about this, but I'll save it for. She's got some dolls here that she's made that are really, really cute, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about everything. We're going to talk about DeSantis versus Newsom here in the next break. But stay with me. We'll be back on in about 3 minutes. Okay.
So,
One second.
Disclosure. There
at Robart's.
All right, we're getting ready here for the next segment. Getting ready for the next segment. And we're going to talk some politics and get into that.
Shows.com.
We're back. What's going on? It's me, John D. Villarreal, here on the Newstalk. John D. Villarreal show here on Newstalk 1040 AM, Greater Tampa Bay area. Hey, it's about 4:35 right now on a beautiful Monday here in August. First major Monday in August, I believe. I think I've got that right, yeah. And we're joined by Paul Villarreal. We're talking about relationships. We're talking about Barbie. We're talking about marriage and all that type of stuff. We're going to put that a little bit on pause. We'll take your questions and comments, if you will. And I wanted to sort of set that up for the last hour, but there's so much to get into and discuss there that we just had to lay it out there. Do you have any final thoughts on that, Paul, before I turn to the political stuff? Because there's a lot that's been going on with that.
Yeah, just for now, I mean, again, we can talk about it more later. It's exactly what you said, which is we've talked a couple times on this show before about people like, just people that have passed up an opportunity to have a family, kind of focused on their own selves, their own career, and then later on regretting it. And so we're just kind of like, I think people might want to think about that.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about it. And I think that, now, there's a lot that's been going on, and we do want to think that. We'll talk about that. We'll come back to that in the last hour here, probably about 5:30. And no promises, because we know how John D. Villarreal show goes. A lot of activity, a lot of stuff that happens very, very rapidly here. Now let's talk about this. Let's talk about what's going on in the political scene right now, and that is there's a lot of stuff happening. We had a bunch of stuff. Donald Trump has a number of rallies. And Paul, and I've been saying it. Paul is on the QT. He's on the DL. I don't know how much you want to talk about Paul, but I mean, he is gaining tremendous amounts of followers. He's been getting a lot of his views. A lot of his posts have been getting hundreds of thousands, almost 1 million, views per. I mean, big people are, checking out his stuff. If you want to know what's going on, you listen right here, the John D. Villarreal Show on Newstalk 1040 and live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And people just think that, as I've said before, we're like 1 or 2 levels below the super big time. And I've been in many different realms. And we're going to see if we can break out here on Newstalk 1040 with this audience. And we appreciate you, the John D. Villarreal Show, audience out there. But I don't know how much you want to say about it, Paul, but I will say this. I'll give you the floor right now to talk a little bit about that if you want, but also to talk about what do you think is gaining resonance? What's gaining traction? Why have you been so successful? In other words, what does the audience want to hear right now?
Yeah, so what I've been doing is primarily tracking President Trump's his speeches. And the last couple of speeches that he did they weren't rallies, they were at GOP dinners. And what I do is I'll listen to the speech and I'll kind of summarize it, give some inside baseball, like strategy concepts of why he's doing certain things, or maybe, hey, he's doing this where before he was doing that, and then just kind of give an overall take of what I thought. And I mean, look, I didn't expect the kind of response that I'm getting, but people just really like it. And I think they like it because, one, it's a value add in the sense that you don't have to watch the speech. You can see what is said about the speech, and then if you think it's interesting, then you can go watch it. And what I've found is that there are a couple of people who are reporters or national political experts who are following me now, because it's like what Rush Limbaugh used to say. People listen to his show as show prep for their own shows.
Right.
So Let's get some notes about what happened. And I think that has happened. And look, I'm thankful. it's I'm able to do it, and it's fun to do. I'm under an anonymous account on Twitter, at least for now. And look, it's working. I mean, people enjoy it. And Trump just had 2 speeches in this past weekend, one on Friday, one on Saturday, and both of the tweets that I did extremely well.
So let's talk about those numbers. I mean,
yeah.
let's talk about how many listeners, how many viewers, how many people saw your tweets, number one, and how many followers do you have right now?
So the number of people who saw each of those tweets was about 200,000. So I got 200,000 views on each one of those tweets, which is a really good number. I mean, for anybody. So, I mean, unless you're like, I don't know, Dwayne Johnson or something like that.
Right.
Followers, I'm coming up on 11,000. So we're just, look, I've only had this account for a short time, but we're building it up. And, you know, both of us know we've been able to fortunately have success on YouTube before and in different venues before. And, you know, if people like what you're doing, then they're going to gravitate towards you. So hopefully we can do that on Twitter, and we can do it here on Newstalk 1040.
Well, that's it. I mean, I've been successful, and we've been successful on radio. I had a national TV show, co-hosted GameSpot TV. Obviously, YouTube, we're over 60 million views on that. Twitter, we've got all these different followers. I barely even looked at Twitter, Facebook. I've done, print. I've done it all, right? And so, no doubt about it. We're doing it right now on News Talk 1040 here in the Greater Tampa Bay area, and live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And so, as I said, I mean, and people sometimes that meet me in real life, or if I work with them, like, they think like whatever. It's like, no, dude, I've been this close to the prime time. And in my opinion, we got kind of punked out, shut out of Silicon Valley, shut out of politics, shut out of some of the media stuff because, and 5 years ago, 10 years ago, people were like, oh, you're crazy, tinfoil hat. Now everybody understands what's going on. Not everybody, but let's say it's widely known about Twitter files and Facebook files and, and the shadow banning and the censorship and all this type of stuff. I don't want to make this a personal show, but I'm just saying, yeah, I see my stuff. If you want to be ahead of the game, you listen to this show, John D. Villarreal radio show and a live show, because we are ahead of the game. There are people looking at Paul for show prep. There are people looking at me constantly for show prep. A lot of things I've said a week or two ago, 2 weeks ago, now you're seeing. Now you're seeing candidates pick up and stuff like that. And other big name influencers and media people are connected to me on LinkedIn and stuff like that. So we're getting the message out there, no doubt about it. We appreciate it. So let's talk about it. Let's get into it right now. And that is this. Okay. This week we had Governor DeSantis' campaign is in some ways he's trying to take the reins of it. In some ways it's spiraling out of control. And I'm seeing reports out there that as I said, it didn't make any strategic sense to me. You're going to the right on social issues, to the left on economic issues of Trump. I don't see how that works. And in fact, reportedly you've got some donors that are pulling back on DeSantis and say, hey, I'm not giving more money if it's going to continue to be like this. And so you're seeing this whipsaw of policy. There's been a cut in staff with the DeSantis campaign. Now all of a sudden DeSantis is out there doing some stuff. We also hear a report that he's coming down in the polls. Vivek is coming up. I'm going to talk about that and why that's happening, in my opinion. And we're going to talk about the Vivek and David Pakman interview, which was, I think, a disaster for David Pakman, but it illustrates, some of the things, along with, James Gaffigan, I think, was on Rogan recently, and that was also illustrative of just the lack of understanding that's on the left about what's going on out there, in my opinion. And we also have news about more of a Joe Rogan, where Patrick Bet-David was on Joe Rogan's show, and it seems like he may have gotten Joe Rogan to agree to interview Donald Trump. So there's so much to talk about here. But with this DeSantis stuff, Paul, now we're hearing reports that, maybe Governor Newsom's going to interview Governor DeSantis, and Sean Hannity is going to moderate, and it's going to be in November, and oh my goodness, and we're going to do it in Georgia, maybe, and there's three. Nobody cares, dude. Who's waiting for that? Like, nobody cares. I'm not trying to be a punk, but Governor Newsom's not even in the race, bro. What, Paul, what's going on with this?
Yeah, let's talk about that. First, let me just say this. You might have to explain to the audience who David Pacman and even Patrick Bet David are, just so people will know when you bring them up. But what's happening right now, as you talked about the polls, I'm looking right now at the Real Clear Politics average of polls. It's like the poll of polls, kind of an aggregate. Right now, Governor DeSantis has hit his lowest that I think he's ever hit, which is at 15.7% across all these different polls. Whereas
Look out
President
below.
Trump, yeah, that's unbelievably, he's tanking. President Trump's at like 53%. So he's struggling. Governor DeSantis is struggling. And because he is struggling, that's why you have to do these kind of attention-seeking type of events, in my opinion, like the debate with Governor Newsom. And look, I've seen online, they're literally putting out like little digital placards of like, here's a debate, and here's one side is DeSantis and one side is Newsom, and DeSantis is wearing sunglasses, almost like he looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger in the Terminator, and they're making this huge deal out of it. I saw somebody say this online. I thought it was literally really hilarious. I don't know if this is something that sports fans will understand. Is somebody said that debate is like the NIT tournament. The NIT tournament is a basketball tournament for all the teams that didn't make the NCAA tournament. So that's basically like, yeah, what is this? Yeah, that is really good. I've got to give credit to someone else for that. And that's what we're dealing with here. Yeah. I mean, look, they know President Trump is unlikely to show up at the debates. And so how do you get attention? How do you break through?
Well, right, and I'm going to tell you this right now, and I should have written it down. I had the perfect framing of this, or a really good framing of this, and that is this. It's like, I'm going to try. I'm not getting it quite right, but bear with me, Newstalk 1040 audience here. It's not, as I said before, and you're hearing more people say it, right? I mean, a couple weeks ago, what did I say? It's not. People have an emotional connection with Trump. That's why people were, well, the indictments and why is it not working, whatever like that. And who's going after harder against Trump in some ways? Governor Chris Christie, who is one of the most disliked people on the Republican side now by polling, Governor Chris Christie. I mean, like the old playbook of Karl Rove and Team Bush and stuff, and drop all the ads and opposition research and all that, all this type of stuff and direct mail. It's not working. Fox News, it's not working, dude. It's not working. No less than Steve Ducey and Brian Kilmeade kind of got into it a little bit on the set of the morning show there about Donald Trump and stuff. And Ducey was getting checked by Brian Kilmeade, and Ducey, I'm still the facts. And it's like, dude, like how many people feel that Fox News doesn't like Trump and Fox News really likes DeSantis? How many times can DeSantis be on? It's not working, dude. Now counter that. So you think of the whatever it is, hundreds of millions. I don't know how much money. Is it $1 billion? I mean, just tremendous amounts of money in Governor DeSantis. And listen, I feel bad. I've said it before. Governor DeSantis, he should just get out of this race, be a hero, drop out, back Trump, do whatever on principle. On principle. Okay? Because we can't have the media or law firm or whomever. I don't know. I mean, let me put it this way. We can't have the media and left. Forget it. I'm going to revise and extend what I just said right there. Forget about all that. We can't have the media and leftists picking our candidate. Simple as that. Simple as that. No less than that we shouldn't pick their candidate, right? I mean, that's what it is. I mean, and the people have to be in charge. The voters have to be in charge. If you can't stand up for that, why should we vote for you? So it's not about Trump, the personal connection, emotional connection. No, the voters, as I said, trust Trump. Now you're seeing, as I said, we're show prep. You're seeing all of a sudden the commentary is shifting a little bit. They're understanding. I don't know if they're listening to John Villarreal show. I don't know if they're listening to Paul Villarreal there on Twitter. But something's happening because we're seeing it first, right? It's about authenticity. And that doesn't mean like, oh, put on a hunting jacket, roll up your sleeves. That means being real and being unafraid. Not listening to the pollsters, not whipsawing your policies, sometimes you can change your mind and okay, that happens. But when it's like, you're changing your mind on 30%, 50% stuff, like that's really bad, right? That's not good. And so Vivek is coming up, and he doesn't have nearly as much money as Governor DeSantis. But he's doing shows. He's challenging the Breakfast Club. He's challenging David Pakman. He's going on these small podcasts, these meet and greets. He's unscripted, super intelligent dude. And unafraid and understanding that this is about principle. Standing up for President Trump, understanding it's about principle. If it happened to Trump, it can happen to anybody on the right. Don't you understand that? And this is in so many different things. I'm seeing this now we're live on LinkedIn. Let's talk about some business stuff. I'm seeing this happen in the business space. Oh, how come workers aren't back in the office? Where's everybody back in the office? Now we're having, and again, this is the trend. I'm not labeling this. It's lazy girl jobs or something like that. That's a trend on TikTok. And that's the other thing too. I'm so tired of like reporters putting out there, hey, this is said on Twitter. This is trending on Twitter. This is trending on TikTok. Like, I don't care what's trending on TikTok. Like, that's fine. I get it. But the point of it is, it's quiet quitting, it's remote from work. But the biggest thing is here is the battle between, hey, we want to do remote work and we want a work-life balance versus some corporations, they get back in the office. We're going to grind you up. We're going to work you. So there is this tension, right? This is almost like the classic, Marxist discussion of capital versus, labor and all that type of stuff, right? But there's some of this discussion going on about, and it affects all kinds of stuff. It affects work and real estate value, commercial real estate values, and all types of stuff. And there is definitely this push-pull that's going on out there. And so the point of it is it comes down to results and what works and what and being able to trust people and being able to trust the candidate and being authentic. And the problem with DeSantis is this idea that you were going to, Fox News or the influencers or the consultants were going to take you over the finish line, and you didn't have to deal with people. Like a lot of people are saying, like, now, Patrick Bet-David said that. DeSantis people called him up like, hey, we're here. We're having a hard time getting a hold of you. And this is my paraphrase. And he's like, well, where were you for the last whatever? You know what I mean? Like, Patrick Bet-David is he's an entrepreneur. He now has a media company. He's got millions of views on his YouTube. I think he's got over 1 million followers on YouTube. I got to double check this. Very big name. Obviously, Joe Rogan just had him on. He's a very big name, very wealthy. Used to have an insurance company. I think he sold that. He's got Jedediah Beal working for. It's got a lot of different people coming on board. The Value Entertainment brand out there, no doubt about it. I think he's down out of Fort Lauderdale, Miami, somewhere in that area. And I'd love to talk to him or be on one of the shows at some point or whatnot. But I mean, yeah, dude, it's too little, too late for the DeSantis campaign. Like, dude, it's over. And you look at someone like Vivek, and so people want someone. Vivek's talking about draining the swamp and how he's going to do that. Whether it's Trump, whether it's Vivek, whether it's Jim Jordan or Kevin McCarthy, people want someone that's going to actually. People want, if they vote for you on the Republican side, the base wants people that are going to stop this encroachment on constitutional liberties and freedom and values and the family and all this type of stuff. Am I right, Paul?
Yeah, that's exactly what people want. As you said, Patrick Bet-David, extremely influential podcaster and just internet figure. I mean, he's big on Twitter, etc. That is what people want. And then coming back to what you said initially, which is changing positions. One thing you can see with, look, I'm not going to say Donald Trump has never changed any positions over years, but as long as he's been a politician, he really hasn't changed his positions. One thing, like if you go back and look at interviews with him from like the 90s, he was talking about facing China economically back then. So it's been a pretty steady array of issues for him. And Governor DeSantis has gotten himself into trouble on supposed flip-flops with Ukraine. Then he said, like, within this last week, he said that President Trump actually hurt him in the 2018 election, which is completely false. So it's just kind of like, where are you coming from? And then it has the feel of a typical politician rather than the kind of hero that people were seeing Governor DeSantis as just in the November 22 election. It's disappointing, I think, to a lot of people.
That's what I'm saying. Governor DeSantis more and more. Look, I mean, again, no matter what happens, I think he goes down as pretty much one of the greatest, if not the greatest governor of all time right now to date in Florida because of what he was able to do and whatever. However he got there, like, it doesn't matter. But the more people are seeing a Governor DeSantis, and it's up to him. We'll see. It seems I've seen some good side of him taking control of the campaign, but we've got to know. We show everybody who the real Governor DeSantis is. If you haven't already, if this is what it is, it's what it is. If there's a second act, if there's an encore, if there's whatever there is, like we want to see the best Governor DeSantis, whatever that is. If you're going to be someone that's going to listen to your donors, we don't want that. I'm just telling you right now. I'm just telling you what it is. So you have to decide what it is, because I think you can win without money, bro. Bro, you're governor of Florida. You can get earned media anytime that you want. You don't need the money. You don't need the consultants. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Let's break through the noise here. Let's get the headline. I probably should have said that first, honestly, okay? You don't need the consultants. You don't need the money. If you're going to be someone that's going to listen to the donors, then just you might as well get out of the race right now. That's what I'm trying to tell you, okay? I mean, and again, I'm not giving you any advice. I am a political expert. I am a media expert. I'm not giving you, this is my opinion. I'm doing my show. Get out of the race if you're going to just listen to the donors. I'm not saying that don't talk to the donors. I'm not saying that the donors aren't important. I'm not saying they don't have valid concerns. I'm not saying they're not industry leaders and all that. That's great. We love the donors. That's fantastic. But if all you're going to do is listen to the donors or the consultants like Carl Rover or whomever, get out of the race, dude. Because that's not what Trump's doing. That's not what Vivek's doing. That's not what Byron Donalds is doing. There's so many other, dude, there's no oxygen for that. There's no space for that, particularly right now, okay? It's not going to work. If you haven't seen that by now, I don't know what to tell you. Like, you're out of your mind. How much money have you just blown through? 100 million, 200 million? How much earned money with the book tour and all these types of stuff? I mean, in my opinion, it's not worked. And as you said, Paul, you said off there, I don't know if you want to talk about it now or not, and we'll set it up for the next segment, that some people that have on background or something like that, man, we're really going to step into it here. Listen, we live on the live wire here sometimes. But I think you were saying, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but maybe that there were some in the DeSantis camp, maybe high up, that were maybe counting on this indictment on Trump to be basically taken off the board politically. Do you want to talk about that? Do you agree with that? What do you want to say?
Yeah, there are people that are on Twitter that I trust that have sources who have said that. And honestly, they've said it for a long time. I mean, now it's more crystallizing because President Trump just got charged with the 1-6 stuff. But I think there was a feeling that with both the classified documents matter as well as the 1-6 matter, that there was a hope that might kind of push President Trump to the side. And so I think people that worked to convince Governor DeSantis to get into the race told him, "Look, that's going to help you. That'll kind of clear the path for you, so to speak." And that's this is not my words. Yeah.
Sorry, real quick. Sorry, just because we're running up against the break here. Let me just put it to you very clearly right here, right now. Look, 6 months ago, a year ago, if you were to tell the average Republican voter, hey, if for whatever reason President Trump doesn't want to run, who would your second choice be? It would have for sure been, well, not sure. It would have, for a lot of people, it would have been Governor DeSantis. But but the perception comes out that you were counting on on President Trump to be taken out, that you're not standing against the forces on the left that may be trying to potentially not have him be the nominee. Okay, the media and stuff like that politically, right? I'm not speaking about anything else. I'm talking about someone on the left, whatever, and media. And if it seems like you are just you're not engaging, you're not good at retail politics, you don't want to talk to people, you weren't available then, but now all of a sudden now that you need to you're calling people now that you need their audience, and that you're just listening to the donors, and then you're like Paul said, that it becomes like you're just like every other politician. That's not going to work, and it's not working. Why do you think you're at 15%, bro? We're going to talk about Vivek versus David Pakman next hour. It's going to be amazing. Stay tuned. The John D. Villarreal Radio Show, the 5 o'clock hour, coming up on Newstalk 1040 AM. I love it. We're just getting rolling here. Hey, we're going to take a break here till about 5:06. Miss Janair's just brought in. She's got all kinds of cool dolls, you know, some things that she's drawing right here. You want to come over here? Come over here. It's my beautiful daughter right here. She's amazing. We love her. She's so good. She's done all kinds of drawing. We're going to talk about your drawing and stuff like that right around 5:30 or somewhere around there. We're going to talk about family. We're going to talk about relationships. What do you want to talk about your dolls? You want to talk to everybody out there?
Very much. I brand the thing that I brand is the crybaby. So the crybaby is.
We're going to preview the crybaby right now. Go ahead. Let's see what this is brand new. She just makes these. She just makes these. She draws these up. She just gets them rolling.
Let me tell you really quick. This is very cool. So if you give the crybaby milk, then he gets happy.
What? Oh my! And you just drew these right now?
Yeah. The number 1 is happy, and number 2 is.
Let me show everybody what you've got here. Okay, so here's what we got. She drew these while I was doing the show, and she's got some other stuff. This is the crybaby. Okay, so crybaby's not happy. So then if you give crybaby some milk, then crybaby becomes happy. So that's amazing. You're very talented. You're unbelievable. You're awesome.
I also have other stuff I want to show you.
Uh-huh.
This
is like a little baby right here, I think.
Baby, no, it's a baby book that make the baby sleepy, like a baby.
Oh, you read the baby a story. I think that's a book, I guess. I guess that's a book. Okay, sorry.
This one is the book.
That's the book. Okay.
This is where you change the diaper of the baby when he gets stinky. Remember the
Listen, we're gonna easy. We stay tuned. We're gonna be back and give me about 5 minutes. Let me recharge a little bit. she'll keep going. I don't know what she's gonna say. One more thing.
So this is the GB. So the GB when it gets very stinky, right?
Okay. We'll take a break. We'll be back at you. I'll see you here in about Hey everybody, we're about 2 minutes out from the show, about 2 minutes out from the 5 o'clock hour here. We're getting ready. Miss Janair, we'll be talking some more. No, hold on. That's the kind of risk I'm willing to take for the audience out there, having a 6-year-old on the show. But on our live radio show, I don't know that that's ever been done. Well, I'm sure everything's been done before, but I mean, it's definitely brave, in my opinion. Okay, we'll be right back at you here in a couple minutes. We're going to talk more about politics with the news talk and some business stuff. There's a lot to go through, and we'll talk more about the relationship stuff and family about 5:30-ish. All right, see you in a second.
Is weather center forecast.
Okay, we're getting ready.
As well. We're
All right, we're getting ready here.
sunny. It's a 50.
They're doing the weather. We tee it up. About another minute here, and we'll get rolling.
Up. Serving Tampa.
Okay, get ready.
30% of them.
Probably after this PSA. What's going on, Tampa Bay area? Newstalk 1040 AM audience. Me, John D. Villarreal, joined by Paul F. Villarreal, right here on the John D. Villarreal radio show, live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Newstalk 1040, which can be heard everywhere from Sarasota, Wesley Chapel, St. Pete, Clearwater, Palm Harbor, Tampa Bay, Lakeland, Plant City, all over the place, really. Bradenton. We love it. We love the Newstalk 1040 audience. We talk about all kinds of different things. We're talking about relationships. We're talking about President Trump. We're talking about Governor DeSantis, Governor Newsom, all kinds of. I mean, Paul, look, you know my theories. You know what I'm talking about. And we want to spin it positive right here. Let me tee you up for a second. And congratulations. Paul's been doing amazing on Twitter anonymously. Got him on the QT. And lots of big, heavy people have been following Paul lately. He's been doing great. If you were governor, we've been talking last hour about Governor DeSantis and what's going wrong. And how do you make it right? Like, if you were Governor DeSantis, what would you do in that campaign? What would you do right now? Do you think there is a path forward? Do you think anyone but Trump can win? And of course, it's a long time till the campaign and we don't know what's going to happen. But what would you, and again, you're not giving advice. You're just giving your opinion here on the radio show. What do you think? How do you correct what's going on there?
Okay, first of all, is there a path forward? Yes, I think there is a path forward. It's going to be a very difficult path to walk, but there is a path. And the path would be, and they know this, the path is try to win Iowa, and that's where governor is spending almost all of his time right now, primarily in Iowa, a little bit in New Hampshire as well. Win that, and then get momentum. The thinking being that once people actually start voting, if you win, more people will come to you. So,
but how do you win Iowa?
It's governors. Well, that's a good question. I mean, that's a good question. Well, part of the way you win, or what they're thinking is, first you spend a lot of time there talking to a bunch of people. He's there much more than President Trump is, and you have allies help you. Which in this case might be, like I saw today, that Bill Kristol, who is a very well-known conservative figure who does not like President Trump, apparently he has a political action committee that is spending money to run down President Trump in the state of Iowa. So you combine your positive, you have your friends, your allies go negative against your opponent, and you hope it works. I do think that the governor has improved recently. I think he's kind of as you said, kind of toned down the influencers. These are online people that are well-known figures, and they kind of support him. They've kind of toned that down a little bit. They've kind of gotten away from just being so online, their campaign. He's doing more events in Iowa. He was at like an agriculture stable the other day. He's doing many more things. So I think he's improving. The other way that you hope that you're going to succeed, and we mentioned this last hour, is you hope, in my opinion, that President Trump's legal matters hurt him. And so you would benefit if he is impeded. And so I'm going to have to, even if that's not your strategy,
because we have to. I want to get to a bunch of topics. But let me ask you this. Let me sharpen that point a little bit. Number one, do you think that Governor DeSantis can win if Trump is still in the race? Number one, and number two, do you think the Republican Party can win, particularly President Trump can win the general election, if we have a substantial never Trump? In other words, if the Republican Party doesn't come together? Those are the two real outstanding questions, I think, right now.
I do not think that Governor DeSantis can win if President Trump stays in the race in any serious capacity. I mean,
agree.
He'd have to be. Yeah, I just don't see that because he's just too strong right now. As far as what was the other? Can they win the general election?
Can Trump win the general election if we have a substantial never Trump vote out there, or we don't have the Republican Party coming together? See, I question whether that can happen too. And that's why I said if Governor DeSantis wants to be a hero, he drops out and supports President Trump. And we, at some way, somehow, we have to have this party unified. Do you not agree with that? And President Trump has talked a little bit about that in a recent interview, I think, with Breitbart.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And here's the issue. One of the main issues is, forget about the emotions raised during a tough primary. There's a financial issue. There's somebody that I follow very closely on Twitter who's like, look, opponents of Trump could potentially spend hundreds of millions of dollars during a primary just to lose. And guess what? That money can't be used in the general election. It can't be used to help mail-in voting efforts. It can't be used for advertisements. And that's going to hurt. I can tell you as a person in Pennsylvania in 2020, the amount of ads that were run by allies of Biden were unbelievable. I mean, it's like the Republican Party and Trump were just so late to the game in that. And so if that happens again, it's going to be very difficult. So yeah, I agree. If that's how it turns out, it's going to be difficult to win. Yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's a lot of things to talk about there. Now, let's talk about Vivek and David Pakman. Now, a couple things I got to say right now. Patrick Beck David, he's got a couple different channels right here. His PBD podcast, it has 1.2 million subscribers on YouTube. His Valuetainment channel has 4.59 million subscribers on YouTube. So it's just unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. There's no doubt about it, that he's just crushing it. Absolutely. On that. Now, if we go to, this whole thing with David Pakman, and David Pakman has a big channel as well on YouTube, no doubt about it. And he's been on radio and done all kinds of stuff. He's got 1.82 million subscribers. And I don't want to get super deep into this. There's a lot of people like, oh, Vivek crushed him, and end his career. There's all kinds of different, people posting out there and said different things. And look, David Pakman, I think, is a progressive, is a liberal, and everything like that. And I'm going to totally summarize this in my opinion. This is my paraphrase. It was set up by Pakman saying, hey, I asked this of all the candidates and blah, blah. I think you're probably, whatever. I think we'll, agree, whatever. I don't know exactly. You can watch the clip, the actual clip. But the gist of it was basically, do you think that Biden won the election? Or is there? I think actually was. Sorry. Let me try to get this right. Is there any way that Biden didn't win or Trump won, or something? There's some kind of phraseology. That's not a quote. That's my paraphrase, rough paraphrase and recollection of what was said. But it was something like that. Right here. Twitter right here. David Pat. Hold on. 1 second. Let me try to get this. I want to be, it's still going to be a paraphrase, but I want to be, roughly precise. Vivek Ramaswamy, quote, "Is there any way to interpret that Donald Trump won the 2020 election?" Okay. That was a quote. And I don't want to get into the milieu of all that. This is on David Pakman's Twitter, in my opinion, my recollection, my paraphrase, right? And the thing is that like it felt like a gotcha moment. Let's try to make some news here. That's my phraseology. I'm not alleging that, but I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like it just felt like, oh, here we go again. Here comes another Breakfast Club type appearance for Vivek and stuff like that. But Vivek crushed him, bro. In my opinion, crushed him, because Vivek went into, now what he did to address that is he says, look, well, and again, it's the phraseology is such where it's like, hey, anybody that thinks, and there's a bunch of different things here. There's the election result. Again, there's a different, I gotta be real careful how I say this. Give me a second here. Newstalk 1040 audience. Give me a second. I got to be real careful how I phrase this. I want to really think this through a little bit. How I want to approach this. It's one thing, and I'm not going to take a side. I'm just trying to be intellectually delineate these things. It's one thing to say, okay, the result is the result. Okay? President Biden's President Biden. The result is the result. It's a different thing to say that, and I think this is where Vivek was going. I'm not speaking for him. That everything was totally fair and on the level, right? En masse, right? In totality. And what Vivek explained is, and really the punchline is what matters, right? We're going to get to that. What Vivek said is, look, you had rules, you had different states that were not following the rules that they put in for their elections. So we're not talking about whether, Biden got more votes and whether he's president now. He's president now. He got more votes. Okay, that's fine. But is that fair if they didn't follow their own elections? What was there? That's number one. Number two, the Hunter Biden story. There was a big percentage of people that voted for Biden that said a significant percentage, more than the difference in the election, that said that they would have voted. If they knew about the Hunter Biden story then, and before it was disinformation, Vivek was saying you couldn't share it you couldn't even private message it. The New York Post, I think a bunch of people got their accounts punked and locked and stuff like that. The New York Post, it's been around. I guess he said that Alexander Hamilton started it. It's been around for so long. That got punked. And now we see that it's, that this is no longer seen as disinformation. Right? We have plea deals. We have different things we made. And Pakman was trying to say, oh, well, you know, the pictures. It's not about the pictures, bro. People are talking about potential corruption and all kinds. Just check the news. Check the whistleblowers. These are explosive potential charges, way in excess, in my opinion, than anything they're trying to talk about with President Trump, when you really look at the substance of it. And I'm not alleging anything. We're not having a trial here or anything like that. I'm just saying check the news. The fact that this was shut down, you couldn't even talk about it when we have a First Amendment, and now we're seeing that maybe there's been significant dialogue between government and social media companies. That's the Twitter files. That's the Facebook files. That's a problem. And in that situation where we have news events that would have affected the election, yes, that's not really fair. That's what Vivek, I believe, was saying. Now, here's the thing. Here's the punchline. We can talk about it. We can debate it. We can discuss it. We can have it back and forth. Great. But there's a substantial amount of people, 30%, 50%, 60%, because honestly now it's beyond. If you look at the polling, and Paul, you can talk about it, it's beyond like there's a lot of polling now that's picking up Democrats too. All right. I mean, there's bad polling for this administration in a number of different aspects when it comes to things with Hunter Biden and stuff like that. Okay. There's a lot of those people, what Vivek is saying, you can't just write them all off as rubes, as crackpots, as conspiracy theorists and stuff like that. Like, how do you have a constitutional republic? How do you have a First Amendment if you can't talk about things? If you're shutting down the information that people want to get, how do you have a situation where the news media, and I think he said, like, why is the news media suing to get access to these things, to get discovery, to get the, like, what are we talking about here? Where you're controlling what people can say, where you're making fun of people for having, I mean, if we don't, free, fair elections, a free press, true information, I mean, all these things, you know, freedom of speech, these are crucial, like anti-stakes, like fundamental, have to have elements for a constitutional republic. If you don't have that, you have nothing. And so, no, just having a gotcha thing and trying to get maybe, you know, and basically writing, you know, having a smug look, in my opinion, and writing off half the country or more, that's not going to cut it. That's not appropriate. We need to treat each other with, and maybe, I don't know if Vivek's listening to this radio show. What have I said? I'm sick of hyperpartisanship. I want to treat people with respect. Peace, love, freedom, opportunity, you know, liberty, equality for everybody. A 50%, what have I been saying for years? A 50% solution is not a 100% solution. So that is how Vivek crushed David Pakman, in my opinion, rhetorically. And I don't think he had a good answer for it, Paul. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, that's the way to, I think that's the proper way to discuss the issue of the 2020 election, which is based upon the rules. This is just my version of it. Based upon the rules, Biden won. There's no doubt about it. He got more votes, whatever. But were the rules fair? That's the question, and that's what I think Vivek was saying. And you pointed out two very key things, and I can tell you, as somebody who lives in a swing state who had their election rules changed to have more mail-in voting, it did have, in my opinion, an effect. And the issue was, and is, apparently the state constitutions involved, including Pennsylvania, were, look, the legislature makes the election rules, and the governors, at least the governor here, overruled them because of COVID, and that's what the issue was. You're not following your own constitution. Now, to be fair, one of the decisions that came down from the Supreme Court this summer was basically, it wasn't specifically about that, but it essentially implied, look, other people like governors can, or this, I think in the case it was a judiciary, they're also allowed to affect how the election is structured. So people might come back and say, well, it was proven later. Well, that wasn't known then. And that's not what the constitutions of the states, or this state anyway, said. And that's what Vivek is saying. And look, a lot of people were frustrated about that. I agree.
Well, and look, there's been elections before. There's been questions. There's been, a lot of Democrats weren't happy when Trump won 2016. There was a lot of discussions. Heck, there was a march on Washington. I don't know if I'm getting that, if I'm remembering that correctly or not, with the hats and all that type of stuff. I mean, there's Bush versus Gore. We had, here in Florida, we had hanging chads and all that examination. There's the Supreme Court case. It's okay, dude. It's okay to have discussions about things. That's what Vivek's saying. It's okay to have discussions about things. Because here's the thing. People have to feel that their voices are heard, the process is fair and legitimate. That's the bottom line, dude. I mean, like Paul says, we can have a race between me and Usain Bolt, and it's 100 meters, and I get to start at, I get a head start at the 70-meter mark, and Usain's got to start, 400 meters back, and he's got, heavy sweats on and everything like that, and running and without track shoes and all that, and I've got all the best equipment and everything like that. I still might lose. I'll probably pull something up. I'll probably still lose, but I might win. But if I win, is that, I won the race, but is it fair? No. So, I'm tired of these semantic games and gotcha, this, that, whatever. Let's talk straight. And that goes back to Trump, and that goes back to Vivek, and that goes back to DeSantis, and that goes back to all of this stuff, which is people want want truth. It's no different than we have Joy Behar on The View saying that Bidenomics is great, stock market's great, economy's great, people know it's great, and everything's, things are fantastic. Are you insane? I mean, there are people talking about an Armageddon in commercial real estate. And in real estate, part of that is back to work stuff. We talked about that in LinkedIn, of return to office or not. People don't go back to the office. Gets what real estate values in commercial real estate values go in some of these downtowns is not great. If we don't have some sort of law and order, if people could just go into wherever, a store, a Walgreens, a Coach, a Louis V, whatever, and take stuff. I mean, it's you see a lot of these stores that are exiting, some of these urban centers. Like, this is not sustainable. Something's not sustainable if it's not sustainable. And that goes back to the Barbie movie. We may talk about that some more in the last half hour here, and the whole, relationships and stuff like that. And I'll give you my little story and see if my wife wants to join, but my daughter probably will, which is to say, like, look, if we don't have sustainable relationships, they're not sustainable. If everything's transactional and what's in it for me right now, that's not a relationship, dude. That's a transaction. That's I don't know what that is. And then you wonder, see, you can't have and then I'm previewing the next, you can't have a mentality of, I'm a 10, I want everything right now, I want the perfect whatever, I've leveled up, whatever like that, but I want someone gonna love me no matter what. I want someone that's going to love me if I'm 50 pounds overweight. I want someone that's going to love me if I fill in the blank. Get sick. People get sick. People have problems. People lose their jobs. People go through all kinds of stuff. We need to be there for each other. If we're not there together, if you can't count on your family, who can you count on? And maybe someone left to say, oh, you don't need a family, you don't need a husband, you don't need a wife, whatever, we'll raise your kids, just count on the government. Are you out of your mind? Where has that worked? What is the life about anyway? People need to wake up. So, where that gets to is politicians that aren't speaking to these existential issues. And in some ways, Governor DeSantis has done a good job on some of the family issues and education issues, but in some ways he's gone like way too far on a lot of this stuff, right? And it just feels like when I look at the DeSantis campaign, I do not know, and I'm an expert, I can't tell you for total certainty what is DeSantis and what is his campaign and what is the consultants and what is the donors. I can't tell you that. Paul, do you know?
No, I don't. And I think
that's the problem. We've
seen shifts. So it's difficult to know exactly what is what. And look, he was always going to have a difficult time running against President Trump.
Of course.
That's why I don't really understand why that decision was made.
I would have wanted that
President
conversation.
Trump
Who sold you that bill of goods? I mean, who seriously, now everyone like, no, dude, it never made sense, Paul.
It didn't make sense. And that's getting clearer every day. It's not an emotional connection and all that. I mean, yeah, it is, but it's about he has stood up for people. He is a proven champion. And so I could tell you, people here in Pennsylvania, in the Appalachian part of Pennsylvania, are absolutely, totally for him. And there's just no way, there's no room for DeSantis to get in on that. It's just not going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. We got about 2 minutes to go here. There's a couple of things I want to throw out, and we'll see where we go on this last segment here because there's a number of different things that we can talk about. Nate Diaz and Jake Paul had a fight this weekend. We could talk a little bit about that. Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk are talking about maybe they're going to fight. And this is interesting. We see more stuff with Zuck on there, training their jiu-jitsu and stuff. Now we're talking about Twitter. Twitter's doing some stuff. We're making things happen now right there. I mean, there's a lot of things that are happening. There's a lot of things. The Barbie movie, we'll probably talk about that. There's a lot that's happening on the business end of it here. Trump tax cuts maybe coming to a close soon. All kinds of different things happening. Stay tuned for the last segment. We don't know what we're going to talk about, but we know it's going to be good. of the John D. Villarreal Show here on Newstalk 1040 AM. Last segment coming up.
12 and 30.
Okay, we're probably like a minute out here. And we're back. Last segment right now of the John D. Villarreal Show. Newstalk 1040 AM. Live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. So much that we're talking about here on August the 7th. 5:35 p.m. here in the greater Tampa Bay area. Everybody from you're driving home, you're having fun, you had a hard day at work, or you're still at work, or you're at home, whatever you're doing right here, anywhere from Sarasota. I'm right here in lovely Sarasota, greater Tampa Bay area, of course. And we've got everywhere from Clearwater, St. Pete, Lakeland, Wesley, Chapel, all of that area. We love it. We love it. We love it. We've been talking about politics. We've been talking about David Pakman versus Vivek Ramaswamy. We've been talking about Governor DeSantis. We've been talking about what it's going to take, the election, everything like that. Right now, it's looking really good for President Trump. But I want to break from that. I want to get back to the relationship talk. We're talking about Barbie, and Barbie's exploding in here. And Paul, why don't you just quickly set that up? Give me 2 minutes on that, on the Barbie situation, and I want to get into relationships, and I'm going to dive into my background, my life, my marriage, all that type of stuff. My wife is not going to come on the show. My daughter will be here later. And I'm telling you, it's going to make some sense. I think it's going to be very riveting, hopefully radio and obviously live stream right here. Paul, what's going on with this Barbie movie? It's over $1 billion. There's people that are making it political. I guess there's a lot of messaging in there. What do you make of it?
Yeah, it has gone over $1 billion, and I think it's only taken like, I don't know, 4 weeks or something like that. So it's certainly a big hit, probably the biggest hit that's come along since the Super Mario Brothers movie. And there are different people feeling different things about it. You and I have not seen it, so I can't make a definitive statement about it. However, there are people that feel as though the advertising for the movie wasn't what you actually get when you go to see the movie. So there's people who feel like the advertising was kind of as carefree and light and what you would think of Barbie as that's been around for decades, or what we grew up with as Barbie. And then when you get into the movie, supposedly it's more political. Like supposedly they have to go, I think if this is the summary I heard correctly, they're in Barbie world, but for some reason they have to go to the real world. And when they come back to Barbie world from the real world, supposedly Ken has taken on or is part of the patriarchy. I'm not making this up. This is supposedly what's happening. So you can imagine that if you're getting into stuff like that, then, that's some people might not be into that. But look, people like it. I know I told you off air, I'm really happy for the actress Margot Robbie. I think Margot Robbie's great.
Oh, she's great.
She had a string she's had a string of not great box office movies, and she was kind of wondering where her career was. Obviously, this is going to put her back into the spotlight. So I'm happy for her. But the movie looks good. I mean, it looks bright, it looks colorful, it looks fun, and, it's certainly a hot topic of conversation, and, everybody's glomming onto it, as you said, Justin Trudeau, various people, and that's where it is.
So do you think the message of it is that, as you said, against the quote-unquote patriarchy, or I mean, like, is it sort of against traditional values? I've seen some different people comment on this, and again, it seems to have become political. I mean, do you think that's, like, where do you think that the movie ends up?
I don't know, because I don't know the end of it, but there are people who feel, I think what the overall message of the movie is supposed to be is pro-women and kind of like just pro-women. That's supposed to be, I think, what it is, which is totally cool, which is great.
Yeah, it's great.
There are observers. Yeah, we're all.
But I think
that.
what was weird is
observers.
Go ahead.
I'm just going to say there are observers who feel that the message of pro-women is somewhat accomplished by anti-men. And I don't know, I can't say that because I didn't see it. And I hope it's not like that, but who knows? But if it's pro women, great.
Well, and I think I saw some kind of advertisement or promotion for it was like, if you love Barbie, see the movie. If you hate Barbie, see the movie. I'm like, what? It's just kind of odd, right? And I did see some write-ups in there about how they were going to do things differently. And again, the Kens take over and girl power and all that stuff. So I don't know. Like I haven't seen it, but I will say this: it's brought up a lot of discussions, and I've seen some things. There's been some trends out there like, hey, if your boyfriend won't go see Barbie, if he's not on Team Barbie, break up with him. Like what are we doing now where we're using like coercion in relationships and stuff like that? Like this is just, it comes back to relationships and some of the modern relationships and manosphere stuff and passport bros and all this type of stuff and whatever. And again, it's I think a lot of this misses the point, right? And I don't want to totally reiterate everything, but we'll go at a high level. And basically, a lot of men out there, and there's some very popular content creators, and I'm not endorsing anything and whatnot. They're basically saying, listen, men aren't being respected anymore. Men are seen as, modern relationships are just totally denigrating men, and the laws are against men, whether it's the divorce laws or custody laws or all kinds of different things, and that basically men are being seen as just wallets. And if they have no power whatsoever, if they don't go along with everything that, their relationship partner wants, then they're punked. And some people are like, well, you just need to level up and you just need to be, you need to be on your A game, like women are doing better now and they want better. Okay, it's fantastic, right? And there's and again, I don't want to get into all the language of this stuff because I don't want to be seen as endorsing it. We're discussing it, right? And I can say that, and I can say this: my brother and our family went through a divorce, and it was not great for the family, and it's had lasting impact, and like a lot of families out there, and the thing is it's like both, I don't want to say too much, but both my parents, I think at some point thought about, well, maybe we should have got back together, or maybe we should have stayed together. And I think all the kids thought like, yes. But of course, that didn't happen. And it had a pretty big impact on the family. And we have 5 kids, very, very disruptive. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. And so, you're out there, if you're a man, I guarantee it's like the relationships are hard and dating is hard for everybody out there right now. I'm not saying there's any exclusivity on this or whatnot. I'm just speaking. I can only speak to what I can speak to, right? But I'll say some more here in a second. But I went through this list, and there's many, many more of famous, successful, rich men who got divorced. And I'll go through it real quick just to tee it up. And so you're thinking, if these people got divorced, how are you safe? It doesn't matter how successful you are. Jeff Bezos, Sylvester Stallone, Tom Brady, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Dr. Dre, Kanye West. And Mo, by the way, well maybe Kanye's a little about there. Okay, Kim Kardashian's been married 3 times. Sergey Brin, Guy Ritchie, Tom Cruise, Bill Gates, Mel Gibson, Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, Paul McCartney, Garth Brooks, Matt Lauer, Steven Spielberg, Kelsey Grammer, Brad Pitt, Harrison Ford, James Cameron, Kevin Costner, Prince Charles, Dwayne Wade, Donald Trump, Rupert Murdoch, Wiz Khalifa, Lionel Richie, Hulk Hogan, Michael Jackson, Lance Armstrong, Channing Tatum. So having a six-pack abs doesn't protect you from getting divorced. Being over 6 foot doesn't protect you from getting divorced. Having $1 million, $10 million, $1 billion, multi-billions of dollars doesn't protect you from being divorced. Being a superstar athlete, being famous, being liberal, being conservative doesn't protect you from getting divorced. It's brutal. It's absolutely brutal. And anyone who thinks that that's okay, that this modern society, 80% of divorces are initiated by women. I haven't been able to fact check that, but that's a stat that's out there. 90% if you're college educated. Guess what? More and more women are college, which is fantastic. Everybody, listen, I know there's criticisms of academia and stuff like that. And again, we're peace, love, freedom, opportunity, liberty, equality for everybody. I have a 6-year-old daughter. If she wants to be an astronaut, president, whatever she wants to be, I'm 100% in support of it. But what I'm saying is this. And then now your people are like a lot of men are like, I'm not getting married. Like, forget it. I don't want to deal with it. You know, I mean, it is financially extremely risky. I've seen people very, very successful got destroyed. Their families destroyed, but them also get destroyed financially. They were all set at millions of dollars, destroyed by divorce. And it's not great for the kids either, right? And so a lot of men are like, hey, I'm not dealing with this. I'm not dealing with these, you know, and in fact, you know, I'm getting my passport. I'm going overseas, stuff like that. Whereas, like, if you're like here to be the top 1% in America, in the U.S., I think I'm gonna get the number wrong, but let's just say it's like I can't remember what the top 1%. Maybe you can look this Paul while I'm talking. Maybe it's $400,000 a year, something like that. But guess what? The top 1% in the world, you can be, you know, a little bit above the poverty line, and you're top 1% in the world. Like top 1% in the world is like 34,000. Now, I'm not advocating for anything. I'm just trying to report what I see out there. But I think all of this misses the point. And I think a lot of these things and some of this stuff is like, you know, when my wife was like saying, well, is this just about is this a famous thing? And yeah, I think there's a lot of that, right? I think when you have money, you have options. And I think, but I also think it's a superficiality of modern society with, you know, social media, and I can get a new, and I don't, whatever. And it's a lack of maybe, you know, there's a diminishment in religiosity, if you will, and values and stuff like that. And so I'm kind of bringing everyone up to speed. I got 15 minutes. I got to lay a lot out here very, very quickly. And let me tell you my story very quickly. I think this will relate, and we'll close it up, and I'll have Paul's thoughts. And I think Mr. Gennaro will join us here in a second too. And, you know, my story is, you know, I wasn't the coolest kid, everything like that. You know, we came from a family of divorce, all that type of stuff. And, you know, I kept working on myself. I kept building myself up. You know, pretty soon I was always super smart, was a super genius, you know, born with that. So, you know, my IQ basically in an extended range, if you translate it, whatever, you know, it was 156 on the Slauson scale. If you translate that and put that on the modern standard, because that's a modern thing, that would translate into like, I think a 176, 178, something like that. Super high. Super high, right? Well, I forget what, 1 in 3 million, 1 in 10 million, something crazy. So I was born with that. But everything else I worked super hard for, right? And I worked on that too. I mean, I worked on that too. I can't get too deep into the resume, but you know, over years, you know, national championship, you know, third in the world, you know, Berkeley Law School, Berkeley undergrad, elite, you know, MBA from Hopkins with honors, Master Communication from Hopkins 4.0, you know, training pro athletes, national TV, radio show, boom, number one, you know, best law firm I could have gone work for in my field, Wilson Science University Rosati. I mean, I was doing venture capital. I've done so many different things, and surprise, you know, when I hung out with the pro athletes and stuff like that, all of a sudden, you know, here was a kid that, like, you know, nobody wanted to talk to when I was, you know, young and stuff like that. All of a sudden, like, I mean, dude, there were women everywhere when I was hanging out with these pro athletes. I mean, they were at the airport, they were at the ball game, they were at the restaurant, they'd sometimes follow you into the bathroom, they were at the club, they were at the house, everywhere. I mean, just insane. And someone would remark to me, and I'm not going to name the name, but I trained, you know, a very, very famous athlete. Absolutely. Like, I mean, if I said the name, you'd know it. And you can easily Google this and look it up. It's not a big deal. But I don't want to make it about that. And they're like, oh, I just want to meet him. I just want to date him. I just want to. Do you? Because you realize that, like, forget about him. I'm not going to talk about him. You know, that most of these people, a lot of these athletes at this level, they've got at least one or multiple women in every city that they travel to. I would see people that I knew that were totally, like, you would think professional or whatever, you know, that would act ridiculous in front of these people, like insane, like everything, whatever list, whatever rule, whatever check, all that went out the window. Like insane. Like, you have no idea what you're talking to. I knew a lot of people that would go down to the Playboy parties men and women. I knew people that have Playboy type parties. In my opinion, of where I was at, I mean, when you talk money and power and fame, and I've seen stuff in political stuff, I've seen stuff in business stuff. I mean, you know, we talk, there's stories in Silicon Valley with some of these, you know, different parties, these conventions. I mean, crazy stuff happens, in my opinion. So, you know, you just have to ask yourself, what's real and what do you want? And some people are like, oh, I just got to get the leverage. If I just love what, then I can do. Or same thing with Miami yacht parties, all kinds of stuff going on there, right? Very fast life down there, celebrity fueled and everything like that. Hollywood, same thing. Vegas, same thing. New York City, somewhat the same, a little bit different. And here's the thing. I got like 9 minutes to lay this all out. And so I had been someone that, like, you know, wasn't getting any attention when I was a kid. And who cares? I was a kid, you know, whatever like that. But I kind of went through a little bit of hard. I said, I'll get Paul's comments here. I'm in a situation now, fast forward, you know, a few decades where, I mean, dude, it's the house parties. It's insane, bro. It's insane. I was at a point in time where, you know, I mean, I had Playboy Playmates over at my house. I had Penthouse Pet of the Year, Julie Strain over at my house. I had all kinds of detail. I mean, doctors, lawyers, periodontists, everything. I mean, Paul, I'm bringing you in here for a second. I mean, how many, I gotta be careful as my wife, how many different women have I dated? I really don't want to, let me rephrase that. I don't like that. I don't like going with that. Did I get myself in a position where I had a lot of options?
Yeah, there's no doubt. Yeah, absolutely.
And any way you want to phrase, like, successful, I mean, like, pretty much people that were, you know, involved in very, very wealthy families, famous women, any kind of academics, any kind of realm that you want to, I've dated or had, those kind of women. The professional women, the big money women, the academic women, the model, the actresses, the all that type of stuff. I've been all around all that type of stuff. And I just wasn't happy with where it was at, and I shut it all down, and I just focused on business, stuff like that. But I always knew what I wanted to do. My mom was 1 out of 9. My grandma and granddad were married for I don't know how many years, 50 plus years, whatever it is. We're very much based, and we're in Western Pennsylvania, you know, kind of near that tri-state area, you know, Appalachia, you know, and had strong values, and knew what I wanted and knew what it was all about. And along came into my DMs at one point, knocking on the door. Here comes my wife. And my wife's a doctor from Israel. Had saw that I put bragging about my IQ or something like that. You know, at the time I had the number a little bit wrong. I had 174 there, whatever. It turns out that it actually translates a little bit higher than that, but it doesn't matter. And that just drove her nuts. She's like, "Who is this guy?" Because she's super smart too. Okay, she's got honors from MBA and MPH and Hopkins and stuff like that. You know, one of the top in her class or very high up in their class. And when she went to medical school in Italy, and she got like one of the pretty much the top score time with someone for some kind of medical exam or something in Israel. Worked at one of the top hospitals in the world at Sheba Tel Shamir, and they gave her anything she wanted. And she's like, "Who is this guy who thinks he's this smart?" So we started talking, and she's like, "Whoa, you are this smart." Absolutely. And it drives her nuts that I'm, smarter than her. But I mean, she's great at certain things. She's amazing at certain things that I'm terrible at. It doesn't matter, dude. But the point of it is I immediately saw, when she came over, and I have to tell you the story quick. I may have to take it for next week as well. I should have started this in the first hour. When she came over to visit me, she flew out. I don't like to fly, but I do it enough. But I do it now. It doesn't matter. So she came all the way over from Israel. And we started talking. We were talking every day. She knew I was serious. She knew it was like this is. She saw the value beyond everything else. And at the time I was dating, multiple women, stuff like that. I had, big cars. I was doing all kinds of stupid stuff, whatever. But I had pretty much shut it down. But anytime I wanted, my phone, dude, if I, it was no problem at that time. So she comes over and I shut it all down. I was talking to her and she comes over And all she wanted to do, she didn't ask about, she wanted gifts, she wanted this, and she didn't want to go out, she didn't want to party, she didn't want to do any of that. She just wanted to, she cooked and cleaned everything. I'm not saying this is what it should be. I'm telling you what happened. So I want to be very clear about that. I didn't ask for any of it. That's just what she did. She cooked and cleaned everything. Everything with any other girl, like, that was gone. That was immediately thrown out. We had to go to, she wanted to go to church and she wanted to meet my family. That's all she wanted to do. And I'm like, wow, what the heck? Totally different from anything I had seen out there. But I also knew that she was brilliant and she was all about her family. And she's like, you're going to have to go over there and you're going to have to ask my dad for my hand and you're going to have to do all this thing. Like, woo. And let me tell you, if you met my wife, dude, she's no joke. Like, no joke. Like, oh, she's nice. She barely's on LinkedIn. She doesn't have an Instagram, doesn't do any of that stuff. A little bit of Facebook so she can see family. But I mean, like, you want to talk about, like, intensity and firepower? Like, you don't even know. Am I right about that, Paul?
Yeah, no doubt.
There's no doubt. Most people could never, ever handle her. I mean, no way. So my game has to be, extremely high. But what she's all about family. She's all about religion. She's Aramaic. She literally grew up walking distance to the old church for Jesus and stuff like that. Like, she's all about that. And, the Assyrian people, the Aramaic people, that can trace their roots all the way back to Mesopotamia and everything like that. Like, she's all about that. And let me tell you that there is, a lot of times, she feels like she's running the show. And listen, I married her because she's super smart. She has super strong values. My dad died at 52 of a heart attack. If anything happens to me, I know my daughter's cool. And she's like the best mom. And she's all about that stuff. And she'll put me in check. But she also respects me. And she makes me better and I make her better. And we're in it together. So I want her to be the best. I sacrifice all kinds of stuff to line her up with her career. Just like I sacrificed for my daughter, and we both sacrificed. We're here in Sarasota for my daughter, for Pine View, because it's a top 10 school, top 20 school in the country. If you're gifted, gap magnet, because I know my wife's brilliant. I know what my numbers are. Chances are that's where my daughter's going. So we're doing that for my daughter because if it's not about family and it's not about your kids, what are you doing? Nobody cares that you went to the White House Correspondents' Dinner on your deathbed. Nobody cares that you have X number of dollars in the bank if that doesn't do anything for them or you're gonna die of cancer or whatever it is. We're only here for a short period of time. What is really important? So I know I've got a wife unlike, any other. Now like I said, she'll put me in check and we put each other in check and we have conversations and but what would you expect? If you want a superstar wife, you need to be able to step up to that. If you want a superstar wife or husband, then they're going to have strength. This is common sense. I've said a lot. Paul, lay it on the table. What do you want to finish out with?
I agree with you. And like I said earlier in the show, I think a lot of people have gotten away from this. Everybody's in their phones and everybody's playing video games, and there's kind of been a loss of just relationships and just kind of coming together. So I agree with you, especially now. It's important to connect with people that have strong values and kind of help contribute to a strong family.
We need to help each other out. We need to get back on track. We need to respect each other. Everyone has, peace, love, freedom, opportunity, liberty, equality for everyone. That's what we're all about. You need to understand what's really, really important in your life. I'm looking over here at my daughter's artwork, and she was supposed to come back in, but it's okay, because I don't think we had enough time anyway. And she's so brilliant, so gifted, whatever like that. My duty is to help her out and do everything I can to give her every opportunity possible without pushing her too much. And that's what it's about. And in the end of the day, when I can hug her and spend time with her, look at her and everything like that, along with my wife, that's what it's about. I don't want to live and die in an office, dude. And a lot of people are saying this. And again, I'll say this. I'll close with this. If you're in a relationship, you need that other person. That's what it's about. Bring it together, love each other, do the best for yourself. I love it. I've been trying to do this for you here at Newstalk 1040 AM. Hey, it's been a great week. We'll see you next week. I'm sure that'll happen. Have a great week. Stay blessed. Stay happy out there. You're listening to John D. Villarreal Show here on Newstalk 1040 AM, Greater Tampa Bay area, and live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. Have a great week. See you next time.